Drum for the Song podcast.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 15 of Drum for the Song podcast. I am your host, Dane Campbell. Today's guest is the amazing Russell Gilbrook from Uriah Heep, who are celebrating their 50th year this year. How incredible is that? But yes, Russell is amazing. His enthusiasm for the drums and music is absolutely second to none. If you're a drummer, he's got some incredible advice for you and some tips. If you're not a drummer, you're just going to love this anyway because he's such a great guy and he's so entertaining. So I had to get him on the show. So I hope you enjoy this guest. Straight to it. Hey guys, this is Drum for the Song podcast. I'm here with Russell Gilbrook today. Russell is the drummer in Uriah Heep and he's modeling his t-shirt for you, for those of you who are watching on YouTube. How's it going, Russell?
Yes, nice to meet you, Dane. Yeah, very nice. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's really nice to meet you. And your name has come up a few times with some of my other guests on when they've mentioned drummers that have been a big influence to themselves and drummers that they think are really good. And I was flicking through my Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and then one of the drum ed videos came up of you doing rock shuffles.
Oh, right.
And I was like, that's Russell. I got to get him on. Let's get him on as soon as possible. Because Mike Keaton has been on the show. He was on a few months ago. So who does the drum ed thing. So no, it's a really good channel. And I think your contribution to it is awesome. So I'm going to check out some of the other videos, and I advise our listeners and our viewers to do the same, because I think you've got some good lessons for, well, anyone who plays drums anyway, and you're very entertaining. That was the one thing I was like, oh my God, this guy's hilarious. Like your charisma was amazing, and it made it a lot more unique compared to other drum videos, which I can find can be really like boring. They're too technical maybe, and they're too based on notation. And I think they need someone like you to draw people in and to keep them interested. So I think they're really good. So I'd advise anyone to check those out. And let's go from there. So firstly, how are you? You're okay then?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fed up, obviously, bored and fed up, and just want to get out there and do it, because, you know, when music's been your whole life and you've been playing your whole life and it's stripped away, it can be very depressing. And, you know, we all need music in our lives because it's such an amazing connection emotionally and mentally that we need it.
Totally agree. And for yourself, if you've been doing it your entire life, I'm sure it's hit you a lot harder than, I guess, someone like me that I guess I've been playing all my life, but I've only done it professionally for the last few years. Obviously, last year was a write-off. My band, we were meant to have our busiest summer ever, and it didn't happen. So were you guys meant to be busy last year?
Oh yeah, I was supposed to have gone to Russia for a 3-week tour. Oh, wow. And 3 weeks before we went out there, it got cancelled. This was in March, and it's all been cancelled ever since.
Yeah, it's pretty much the standard story. But Russia, that's interesting. You've got a good following there then.
Yeah, massive following, because Uriah Heep was the first Western band to ever tour that part of the world, certainly Russia, in 1987.
Oh wow!
And they did 10 shows, 250,000 people, and it really did go down well. And you know, the people out there under the regime they were under were really struggling mentally themselves, and it was Uriah Heep's music that really helped them through a lot of bad times. And it's been very special, the connection between Russia and Uriah Heep ever since.
Yeah. Oh, that's a fantastic story. And I think, I guess very few bands, well, the bands that I've come across have ever had a heavy touring schedule over there. They might go out to Moscow for a show or something like that. But I've certainly not been there, and I'd love to go there. But yeah, that's a really great story. So that's cool. And
it's pretty wild. The people are very, very emotional with their music, and it really does have the most amazing connection, and they really let you know about it. It's a bit like the Brazilians as well. They're another another lot that really get quite emotional, and so did in fact, a lot of people do, but the ones that sort of get a little bit more into it, I mean, they're shaking and crying when they're meeting you. The Russians, the Brazilians, the Greeks, they tend to really go a bit mental over it. Which is nice for us, because it's very, that's the kind of connection you want with your audience. That's what makes all of those boring journeys in 14 airports and 30 hours on a tour bus. It makes all that boring stuff worthwhile, to get that connection that night with those people, to make their night feel that special in their life. It's priceless.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've only ever done it on a smaller scale, I suppose, but yeah, it's such a great feeling. And when you get to, I don't know if you do a lot of mingling after the shows or before the shows with fans and stuff. I really love meeting fans of the band, and yeah, it's an amazing feeling how much your music means to them, and especially when they experience it in a live setting. I think, it's really special. And yeah, one place I've never been to play a show is Brazil, and one place I would love to go, is Brazil and the rest of South America, because a lot of people that I know have said that they love it so much.
Oh, they're so passionate about it. Yeah. Oh, unbelievably so. We did São Paulo about, I'm guessing now, I could probably get it wrong. All the Heap fans will know I'm terrible with dates. But let's just say, what can we say? Maybe 7 years ago, something like that. 7 years ago. But anyway, it's 120. My biggest audience ever, 120,000 people.
Oh wow!
It went back six kilometers. The people went back 6 kilometers, and I tell you what, the atmosphere. I mean, obviously, it's a different kind of. People say, wow, but sometimes actually playing in front of 2,000 in one of these rock clubs can actually be better, because you can smell and see their faces and all that bit. Where all you're seeing is a sea of heads, which is incredible in itself, but a completely different thing. But the atmosphere was just amazing, and again, as I said, they just live every note and every word, every lyric.
That's fantastic. So, I'd love to see one of those shows one day. I'll fly out to Brazil or something, come and watch you. But let's talk about, because I don't know a hell of a lot about you, to be honest, Russell. So I'm going to grill you a little bit now. How did your drum journey begin then, and who were your biggest influences at the beginning?
Right. Well, basically, I was born playing the drums, according to my mum and dad. I was born with club feet. My feet were born upside down and inside out. And so I used to, before I had operation, drag myself along to the cupboard, get out a plastic bowl, get 2 teaspoons and start tapping out the melodies. Obviously, I couldn't tap out the drum part, because being that young, I had no idea. So I used to just tap to the rhythm of the vocal I could hear.
Yeah.
And it went on for them. Now, I was the first person in the world to have this particular operation on my feet. So It was an experiment. And luckily for me, obviously, it worked out, which is great. But I don't have any ankle movement. So I have to play like I'm stomping. So when I play double pedal, I can't ever play flat-footed, because my foot won't lift up like this. It won't pivot. So I have to play with a ball of foot down with my heel raised so high, and then I have to stomp. So I'm no good at thrash metal bands that play for 5-6 minutes at 200 BPM, because it's like someone sprinting. Sprinting for 3 miles. You can't do it. So I tend to use it in a slightly different manner. But it's allowed me, obviously, to play the drums and have a fantastic career, which I adore. So from the age of 2, I started doing that. And then I continued on. My dad played very good keyboards, but semi-professionally. It wasn't his job. And my mum was a singer, again, semi-professional. So there was music in the family. So when my mum used to get the Hoover out, I used to crawl over to the Hoover and put my head on the Hoover for the vibrations. And when my dad played the keyboards and he'd tap his foot to keep time, I used to go over there and rest my hand on his foot for the tempo. And so obviously this went on for a year or so, and they said, I think we've got a drummer here. So at the age of 4, I had my first drum lesson. So I had my first drum lesson with a fantastic old big band jazz drummer called Georgie Scott that lived in Leytonstone. And he took me for 2 years and then said, he's actually getting better than I am, and you need to take him to this latest up-and-coming whiz kid drum teacher called Bobby Armstrong, who's obviously very well renowned, probably the best drum teacher England has ever seen. He's sadly passed away. And he taught me for 8 years. So when I was 6, I actually joined the band, another keyboard player who could play the foot pedals with his, the bass part with his foot on the organ. He was an organ player. Yeah. And we went out doing gigs every weekend nearly. We were called the Young Sensationals. I was earning £30 a week. So I was doing all of the pop stuff at the age of 6. Now, my influences, I didn't have any because I literally fell into the music business doing gigs, and it carried on from there. I suppose my people I looked up teacher, I idolised my drum teacher. I was his little roadie as best I could. I used to sit there watching every beat that he played to try and soak in all the information. And he gave me all his dep work. I depped in the West End when I was 12, Jesus Christ Superstar, sight read it. I did the Whiz, again, sight read that. And because I got schooled properly by Bob, I could literally read anything. And it wasn't... Nothing was difficult for me. The drums came easy to me. I played everything really, really well. The biggest problem, because I could play great, is he roasted my backside off one gig when I was 16. He said, right, I've got a gig for you. No, so it wasn't 16, it was 14. It was one of the last, because I left him at 14, it was one of the last lessons I had. And I think it was whatever it was, a couple of months before the last lesson. He said, right, I've got a dep for you up in London. So I went up in London. Luckily, I could do it because I was a musician, even though it should have been over 18s. And I played with this really good session band, house band. And I did the gig. And of course, I thought, wow, great, I've done it. Just nailed the gig again. Came back and then I had the next lesson. And Bob went, how did the gig go? I said, I nailed it again. Thanks, Bob. Thanks for the debt, but I've made you proud, mate. I've done a good gig. He said, you're rubbish. I went, what? He said, you're rubbish. He said, yeah, the bass player and the keyboard player, they called me up and said, don't have you again as a debt. And I almost started crying. I went, what? I said, but I nailed it all. He said, right, this is the lesson you've got to learn. It's not always about playing it right, Russ. What you've got to understand, the most important thing about being a musician is being musical. The second most important thing, which joins that first thing, is having good feel. He said they'd sooner have you messed up a few of the charts, but you had a great feel and a groove and you were musical, rather than you playing it like a robot. And I couldn't believe it. And so he then said, right, listen to Little Feat, listen to Steely Dan, listen to Bernard Purdie, listen to Jess Porcaro, listen to, and so all of this, all the guys that got all those great grooves and everything like that. He said, just listen. He said, don't do anything, but listen to how they play it, think about why they would play it, and soak in that magic that you probably haven't heard before. All you've done is listen to the top surface of the music and not delved under to understand what makes that band swing more or groove more laid back. And so that's what I did, and that completely transformed my whole playing. Of course, it's no good being able to play everything, but now I've got to turn it into music, and that really started my real career off, if you like.
Yeah. Oh, that's such an amazing story, and I guess going from, it sounds like when you were a young kid, you probably didn't hear much drum music. Is that correct? Then is that what you mean? You weren't exposed to particular.
Well, yeah, I mean, my dad was a big jazz nut, so obviously all I ever heard was the old jazz stuff, and because of my teacher, and I idolised him. He was into Tom Scott and Chuck Mangione and Buddy Rich, and so all that jazz and jazz funk fusion, Harvey Mason, Chick Corea. And Herbie Hancock. Yeah. So instead of it being all of this pop and rock stuff, it was all the jazz, funk, instrumental stuff, all the really cool musician stuff.
So I was,
Yeah, and I was really into that, and I used to play all of that, and playing in 5 and 7 and 11 didn't bother me, and I started, and that was it. And I, for a long time, missed out a lot on everything else that was going on.
Yeah.
But in between all of that, because I was so good, so young, Bob gave me a lot of depths. So, I was still doing I did Tommy Cooper, I did Little and Large, I did all the, what you call the bread and butter cabaret stuff and everything all over the UK, doing all of that kind of stuff. So that, again, built-in experience of me playing, I had to play the, ABBA, because if you had a variety show and Lenny Peters was on it or whoever was on it, they might have someone lower down that would just be a singer who would sing a lot of the poppier songs at the time. So I'd have to play ABBA, I'd have to play My Way by Frank Sinatra, whatever. So he had a cross-section of all grooves and stuff to fit, which was fantastic for me.
Yeah.
And then I started, obviously, doing the odd dep in London. And then when I was 18, I did a show in the West End called Handicap, which was written by the keyboard player of the Animals, called Alan Price.
Right.
And I did that show in the West End, and then Alan asked me to join, and we did whatever it was, 150 shows all over England. And I was with him for 6 years, and he really did bring my drumming out, because it was the first time he gave me, back then, he gave me a cassette and said, learn the set on there, right? And we're going to go up to London. Then it was London, John Henry's, not John Henry's, Easy Hire, to do 2 weeks rehearsals. I've got a brand new band. Okay, right. Well, I turned up at Easy Hire, but I've never seen anything like it in my life, because I've only ever sort of rehearsed in a tiny little rehearsal room, or I'd only ever done cabarets where you got the MD, keeping it down, or, I did obviously some touring shows, Wizard of Oz and what the classic Rocky Horror Show, and I did all of them up and down the country and all stuff like that. And it was always, you got to keep everything minimum. Well, I got to Easy Eye, and I walked in there, dragged my kit in. Well, I stood for 10 minutes just looking at the room. I've never seen a room so big in all my life, with a drum riser, and I got drum fills and everything. I felt a little bit, because I've never had anything like this before. And of course, everyone turns up, met the rest of the guys in the band, set up. And they said, have you, just prior to this, actually, let me just tell you, when he gave me the cassette and I started learning the set, I rang him up after about 3 or 4 days, because I'd always been taught, obviously, if there's a reading there, you read exactly what it wants, unless the MD changes it. You always accommodate your artist, everything like that. Well, because I had no music, it was an unknown territory to me. So I was listening to the drummer, and I'm thinking, but I would usually do this, or I'm not sure what I do. So I rang him up after about 3 or 4 days and said, look, Alan, I said, on that bit, House of the Rising Sun, when he's playing that little bit like that, and he just stopped me and said, Russell, yeah, I booked you to play the drums. Yeah. Well, I won't swear, but basically just play them, will you? Oh, okay, right. And put the phone down. So when I turned up, it was basically saying I've got a free fall. What a gig to have. First time in my life, I've actually now got to think for myself and become myself.
Right.
So I've got to set up, started playing. He stopped me after 16 bars, stopped the whole band, looked round at me and said, are you going to hit them drums or what? I went, oh, all right, yeah. Because I've been so used to playing at a small volume.
Yeah.
Where do you get the chance to really lay into the kit, what I consider laying into the kit, unless you're put into that situation? So we did it again, and he stopped me again after 8 bars and said, I told you, hit the bloody thing. He said, we're playing on big stages. He said, I want to feel the energy. And he really did completely transform my whole outlook on how to command a band, to fill the stage, right? And also to now start bringing out Russell Gilbrook when I start playing the drums. So I did him for 6 years. I went straight from him into the Chris Bard Jazz and Blues Band, playing trad jazz New Orleans, for goodness sake.
Okay.
Right? Which not many people know, you see. They know me for this hard, mad, hitting idiot in Uriah Heep. Well, I was schooled on jazz. I had Ed Thigbin, who used to play with Oscar Peterson, amazing, well-renowned jazz drummer. And he came up to me at a festival and said, "Hey, boy, for a white guy, you know how to swing that ride." And I thought that was fantastic, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I hadn't played jazz since I left Chris Barber in 93 or whatever it was. But I'm so grateful to do it because I can now bring in elements of the subtleties, of the feels of everything that needs to have into my playing. So I've had a great foundation of literally doing everything. You know, I played with Five Stars, a pop band in the 80s. John Farnham was Australian singer. Helen Shapiro, I was actually her MD for 2 years for Helen Shapiro from the 60s. And so it's been fantastic for me to have, basically, I say I've done nearly every gig you can probably think of as far as style is concerned and everything.
Yeah, sounds like.
And, you know, it brought me right up to date where I got to a situation after Chris Barber where I didn't want to do that stuff anymore. I didn't want to start playing for other artists anymore. I felt like I had enough to offer as a musician and a person, and I wanted to join a vehicle, a band that had something to offer more globally and more successfully. I didn't know it was going to be rock.
Yeah. Because
I hadn't played loads and loads of rock up to then. I dabbled in the odd band here, the odd thing there, the odd cover there, right? Yeah. But I knew I had something else to offer. But obviously, you've got to try and find the opportunity of something to come your way before you can actually have a go at it.
Of course.
And obviously, during my time with Chris Barber, I got signed up by Vinyl Cymbals, actually.
Okay.
And that was my first ever endorsement. I didn't even know about endorsements up to that. No one had told me. I've gone from this little kid to playing stuff and you know, there's the money. Oh, great, in the pocket. What we playing? All I wanted to do was play. I wasn't interested in anything else.
Yeah.
And so it just moved from that to that. And of course, it was very nice to play with these 60s people and learning all the experience. But they were going down a different road to all this other stuff that was going on. And no one had told me about the session scene properly or what was going on the bigger scale touring scene or the endorsement scene. So it was only until someone approached me, Chris Barber, because Chris Barber's massive in Europe, or he was massive in Europe. I got approached in Germany because mine were German, and I signed an endorsement with them. And then the endorsements went on. Then they asked me to do drum clinics. And the drum clinics went on, so I became mates with Kenny Aronoff, and then Tony Iommi asked me to play on his new solo album that he was going to do. So I did some demo. I didn't play on the solo album because they recorded it in LA in the end, but I ended up working on some demo stuff with him. And It was through me doing a demonstration at Frankfurt Music Fair that Tony saw me playing, and he came on stage, shook my hand, and went, "That's some of the best playing I've seen for donkey's years," and just walked off. And then about 10 minutes later, I thought, hang on a minute. Was that who I thought it was? I couldn't believe it. Yeah. So there's a little bit of it.
Yeah. And then so then how did you join Uriah Heep? Did you have to audition, or did they know who you were, or like how did that happen?
No, well, I'll tell you how that happened. I got an old mate of mine who, when my mum and dad got divorced, he worked for the solicitors that were involved with my mum and dad's divorce. And he was a massive Uriah Heep fan. That was his number one band. Well, because he knew I was a professional musician, we got chatting. Now, bearing in mind, I was 21 at the time, so I'm talking a long time ago as far as knowing about Uriah Heep. And he was telling me about Uriah Heep. And because I was just doing Helen Shapiro and Alan Price, and I was, you know, Lenny Peters and doing all this other stuff, I didn't really take much notice because Uriah Heep didn't mean a lot to me then, because I was caught up from the jazz, the funk fusion stuff into doing, you know, earning money as a player. I didn't know anything about all this other stuff. So I said, "Oh, right, okay, yeah." So he loaned me loads of records and I liked it, but I still thought, well, I don't know what that's going to do to me. Because you always used to say, "You should be the drum in Heap. You should be the drum." I kept saying to him, "They've got a drum. They've got an amazing drummer called Lee." What? Yeah, well, they should get rid of him and have you. I said, "It's very nice of you. You're a nice mate and everything. It doesn't work like that."
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm doing all these demos, right? And I used to do a hell of a lot of drum clinics in England. And because, as you quite rightly said, which is very nice of you, I've got a bit of a personality thing that goes over. They used to book me in a lot of places in the UK to go back and do it because everyone just loved the show. Not only did they get some technique out of it, but they liked to have a good old laugh. Even the mums and dads and dads and granddads, they all loved it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I used to do this particular one in Hull called Repercussion. It used to be going by Phil Oatin. And that's where Trevor Boulder, the bass player who sadly died now, he was the bass player with Heap for 30 odd years. He's actually the original Spiders from Mars with David Bowie.
Oh, wow.
So he played on Gene Gene and a whole bit like that. So a tremendous, amazing bass player.
Yeah.
And Phil said to him, "Oh, you've got to come and see this guy, Russell Gilbrook, play." Well, because Uriah Heep are constantly touring all the time, every time I did a clinic, Trev was on tour, so he couldn't come and see me. But this one particular time, he could. Nice. So he came to see me play, and I did my usual stuff and everything. And afterwards, he came up and said, "I have to say," he said, "that's not only was it so funny and entertaining," he said, "Jesus Christ, that's some of the best drumming I've heard for a long time." He said, "Have you got to rush off tomorrow?" I said, "No, I'm staying in a hotel here." I said, "Come round. It's just come round for lunch, and we're going to have a nice chat." So I went round his place, and we become mates. Well, it wasn't till flipping heck, it wasn't until 10, 12 years later, whatever it was, a long time, that I got a phone call off of Trev. He said, "What are you doing, Russ? What are you doing?" I said, "Well, bits and pieces, stuff." "Oh, poor Lee, his health is really deteriorating badly. We've just signed a recording contract for a new album. We're going to have a world tour to go with it. Yeah, do you want to join the band?" Now, immediately what happened, to be honest, what went through my mind was, not another has-been band. I can't be doing it again. I can't go through it again. Right? But he's telling me more and telling me more and telling me more. And of course, what's soaked in is the new album with the new world tour. I thought, well, it could be more into this than that. So I started now focusing more on Uriah Heep and listening and thinking, this is, sorry. This is really...
honestly, probably everyone swears on this, so don't worry if you want to swear, that's cool.
Oh, so I was really starting to focus in on the Heap and listen to the stuff. I thought, this is great, because it's like the old school. You've got Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, and Uriah Heep. They were the four that came out. But if you listen to the drummers, they're literally just playing what they want to play. Yeah. It all works. You can hear that it's not like, oh, you've got to play simple there and you've got to play busy. They just play.
Very free.
And I thought, well, yeah, very free, right? And I thought, God, blimey, I can be me in this band. This would be fantastic. So I did say to Trevor, so let me have a think about it a couple of days. I made loads of phone calls to everybody trying to get all the information. I rang him back, said, Trev, I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. He said, right, well, there is a small problem. I said, what's that? He said, the management have already gone ahead and there's an audition process. He said, but I'm pretty sure you'd be able to handle that. I said, I'm not bothered about an audition. I said, fine, just give me the details. Now, there's the big advice, everybody. I used to teach at BIM, one of the big music schools down in Brighton. I did that for about 2 years. And I used to tell them the same thing. I said, the biggest advice about auditions, here it goes. There was 240 drummers worldwide that auditioned for Uriah Heep, right? Now, quite a few of them were just chancers, so they got knocked off straight away. And they had to just, try and find their way through all the ones. And we come to the last 40 over 2 weeks at Terminal Studios in London. So me being me, I was playing a little rock covers band now and again, doing some weekend, cover work in pubs. I invited Mick and Bernie, the guitarist and singer, down to the pub to watch me play. I didn't care. It was just a crappy little pub because I was still playing the flaming arse off, right? They could still hear what I'm going to do. So I brought them down. We all had a bit of a laugh. They went and everything like that. And Mick called me up and said, okay, right, so you're going to come for the audition? I said, yes, the second week I can make. Oh, right, yeah, that's fine. Now, this is all a ploy, right? I could have made the first day right through the 2 weeks, but I wanted to make myself the last audition for the right reason and make sure that make sure that I got the audition, basically. So I said to him, I can only do the second week. Fine. What can you do in the second week? I said, well, I'm actually quite busy. So what are you going on to? He said, we're going on Monday to Friday. I said, okay, I could do Friday. I could do Friday at 12.
Yeah.
He said, okay, right, we'll put you down Friday at 12. I said, okay. Now, I deliberately left it a couple of hours because Friday at 12 I didn't want to do. So I rang him up after a couple of hours. I said, Mick, there's Friday at 12. I said, I can't actually make the 12. I forgot. I've got a dentist appointment. Can I make it a little bit later? I mean, I'm coming from Essex and everything. I will come up on the train, but what time are you going on to? Well, the last one, the boys have a long week, probably about 4-ish. I said, I can't do 4, can I? Yeah. There's no one in at 4. You can do. So I've now sorted myself out the last audition.
Yeah.
How cool's that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, just one more thing. I'm just going to bring my kit. Oh, no one's bringing kits. We've got a house kit here. And I said to him, no, Mick, I'll destroy it in 10 minutes. I said, I want to bring my own kit. I said, I'm the last one anyway. So he may said, oh, yeah, you're the last one. Yeah, you can bring your kit. So I'm the only one that's got the last day, the last audition, and I've got my own kit.
Yeah.
Right?
So
okay, they gave... Exactly, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna, because you only get one shot in an audition, unless it's, we're going to bring you back because we've got 4 to think or whatever. But I thought this is one. I'm going to blow everyone out of the water. So there was 5 songs to learn, which covered the technical ability of Heap. One of which is a double-handed shuffle for easy living, and the amount of bloody drummers that dropped like flies because they got crappy left hands and couldn't get the feel. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So anyway, Friday at 4:00. So where was I? I was up there at 8:30 in a cafe across the road on Friday, right? Because I wanted to hear my competition, right?
Yeah.
So I went up there, and throughout the day, I could see all these drummers with their headphones on, and I had my a partner with me at the time, and I said to her, if he's got to start doing all that now, it's going to be rubbish, mate. I said, it should all be up there and in here. It should have it all sussed by now. You shouldn't need to be re-going over anything. You should be confident and get in there and do it. Anyway, come to my audition, and their faces looked like they were drained beyond belief with 2 weeks of helipan. I said, how's it been going? Oh, my God. Some people said they can sing, they can't sing. Some said they can play, they can't play. They're not in it hard enough. They ain't got the right groove. They were speeding up. They were slowing down. They didn't even learn it. It was a mental case. So I said, I hope you've learned. I'm setting my gear up. I said, I hope you've learned the 5 songs. I went, no. And there was silence. I said, I've learnt your whole live set. We can do this whole live gig tomorrow if you want. And you should have seen their faces. The uplift was unbelievable. Now, bearing in mind, the band was there, the crew was there, the producer for the album was there. Obviously, all the crew, as I said, they were there. And the smiles on their faces, they couldn't believe it. So I hadn't learnt 5 songs. I'd learnt the whole set. Now, how do you think that goes down with him? So I just said, well, what do you want to play then? Well, you name it. I said, okay, I'll name it. Right. And it was Mick about to bring the band in. I said, hang on a sec. He said, what? I said, I'm just going to get the right tempo. Hang on. And then I called the band. And again, I commanded it, called the band in with a real loud counting. And I could see the faces of relaxation and enjoyment in one was unbelievable. And that was it. Did the audition. I got a standing ovation from the crew, smiles on the faces. I came back from behind the kit. Mick came over, started talking to me, and after 10 minutes, I said, hang on a minute. I said, you're talking to me like I got the gig. He said, you have. We're going to go around the pub and get pissed now. What happened?
That's amazing. It makes sense. It's so obvious. I've never really been in that audition situation. So it was really interesting hearing how that kind of goes, especially at that level of a professional band, what they expect them, the setup and the actual scale and the amount of people that apply. That is crazy. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you can't afford, you're not going to have a second go at it. No, that's the thing.
I agree.
Now, obviously, some auditions might be a bit more tailored. They might be more specific. You are only going to play one song and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But this wasn't like that. And I took it upon myself to learn the live set.
Yeah,
because I knew if someone says to you, have you learned the 5 songs? You go, yeah. And someone else says, well, I've learned the whole live set. Your attention's now going to go to the person that's learned the whole live set. Totally. It has to.
Yeah. Because they're going to be like, well, that guy's if he's true saying that he has actually learned them, and he has, well, that's going to be a lot easier for us if you go with that guy.
And it proves how serious he is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How serious you are, you know.
Yeah.
So you have to, you know, and when Mick's been interviewed, you know, thousands of times about this, he said, you know, why did you pick Russ? Why did you pick Russ? And he turned around and said, Russ came in and made the drum chair his. That's it. And that's what you got to do.
Yeah. No, fair play. Well done. Excellent. That's a great story. What's this I read online about a drum beater? Did you come up with your own drum beater or something like that? Bass drum beater?
Oh, blimey. No, what happened was there was a company called Morel Drum Beaters. He made some snare drums and that as well. And he was just making beaters. And he just said to me, you know, I want to make some drum beaters, bass drum beaters for you. What do you like? Well, you know, I've had Animal on my arm for,
nice,
you know, 30 years or whatever it is. And everyone used to call me the Animal in the early days. And I just said, well, you can't make Animal ones, can you? So he said, yes. So he made a couple of Animal beaters.
Oh, that's class.
Yeah.
So they're not something you use to this day. It isn't a specific reason.
No.
Just a visual thing.
No, I mean, yeah, it was a visual thing. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, as long as the bar doesn't bend and I don't get a funny reaction off the skin from the beater.
Yeah, like a stickiness.
Anything to help a company or anything that's a bit quirky, because I like things to be a little bit, you know, bit quirky. Put a little bit of smile on someone's face. I don't know anyone that turns away from something and puts a smile on the face. It engages people, a smile on the face. So if that's something, look at the beaters. Oh, look at the beaters. There you go. To me, that's a winner.
And that's exactly what I meant about watching your video. It was instantly, I was like, even my wife, who has no interest in drum videos, I said, oh, check out this guy. He's really good. And she was like, oh, like she was actually interested in it. She doesn't care about drumming. She likes watching me play the drums, watching me play gigs, because it's just me playing a gig, I guess. But everything else I've ever shown her, she's just like, I'm not interested, but she was interested in you. So,
well, it's delivery. And you know, one thing I'm lucky to have, and it's like, you know, not every drummer can do it. The amount of drum clinics I've seen, and it's like after 10 minutes, just want to walk out because, you know, you're a great player and everything, but you can't deliver. You can't converse. And you've got to remember in an audience, you're not in an audience of drummers in a drum clinic. You're with the dads there, or the mums there, or the nan and grandads there, or the guitarist mates there. And they don't understand technique all the time.
Yeah.
So if you can make it an entertainment night that has value of instruction built in it for the drummers, then everybody enjoys it. There's nothing worse than sitting there for 2 hours being bored out of your mind because you don't understand anything the guy's saying, and the guy's boring as well. For goodness sake.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I did read that you've done loads of drum clinics. Did you do any in South Wales? That's where I'm from.
I did loads. Neath Restaurant. Neath Music.
Neath Music, right, okay, yeah. I've never been.
When it was around.
Yeah.
And I think I'm sure there was a couple of others.
Nothing in Cardiff?
I'm sure there was, but I can't remember the name of it.
No, it doesn't matter.
But I've also done a couple of things for Lee in the last few years.
Oh, Lee from
Carried.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a character.
And I've done the Welsh, he is. And I did the first Welsh drum show as well. I performed there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know when was that?
And my partner is from Glengwinby.
Was that in Mid Wales somewhere, is it?
Yes, it's just past Port Talbot, I think.
Oh, okay.
In the valleys. She's from the valleys.
Yeah.
So I have a good old Welsh connection.
Nice, yeah. Tell her I live in Ystrad Mynach. She might have heard of it. Yeah, near Caerphilly.
Yeah, she probably would have.
That's where.
Because you're not really that far from the Planet Rock, not the Planet Rock, the Steelhouse, are you? I'm not that far from there at all. Yeah, I'm not far from there at all. Yeah. So yeah.
You've done that before, yeah?
Yeah, I've been there when I've been up visiting Chris's mum and dad. We've gone to Steelhouse.
Yeah.
Because I still love going to see as many gigs as I can because, you know, apart from there being mates of mine, I just adore music. I love it.
Hi, I hope you're enjoying this episode of Drum for the Song. I just wanted to briefly interrupt the interview to tell you about my Patreon page, which is a place where you can support the podcast and, of course, support myself. You can sign up to one of the 3 tiers on there. There's one that's £3 a month, one that is £5 a month, and one that is £10 a month. There are loads and loads of exclusive benefits to signing up, including bonus episodes, merch discounts, Christmas card for myself. If you sign up to the top tier, I'll send you a pair of my drumsticks. Loads of other stuff. So go check it out. It's patreon.com/drum for the song. And another way you could support me if you're interested, if you're not bothered about the Patreon thing, if you go to my official website, drumforthesong.com, you can send a donation via PayPal. So thanks for watching this and enjoy the rest of the show.
Drum for the Song podcast.
I do speak to a lot of musicians and drummers that I guess if they're professional and they do tour a lot and they do play a lot, or maybe they teach on the side, I find that they don't go and watch live bands as much because their life is so full of it already.
That's right. No, that's right. Yeah,
that's cool that you're still up for going to watch bands play and stuff like that. I'm in between. I think I'm half and half. I really enjoy when I go, but I have to push myself to go.
Well, as I said, a lot of them are my mates, and it's the only time I get to have a little beer with them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're touring when I'm touring and this, that and the other. So if I'm not touring and they're doing a gig, I want to go and see them and say hello. They're good mates, you know.
And I have no idea what it's like on tour with you guys, but I don't touch alcohol before I play drums.
No.
Or anything like that. And then by the time you
finish... Days off.
Days off. And I have one after the show just to kind of chill me out. And then there's not much time really then. So I think people... think about this 80s is all about bloody drugs and hookers and stuff.
Yeah. Am I too dark?
Really no, it looks fine.
Okay.
It looks fine, yeah. But yeah.
You're totally right there. It's about, I don't ever want anything. I can't express the love I have for playing and making that audience is fantastic nights. That every night is a special night for those people. That night, you can never have it again. Yeah. And I want to have the most fantastic night playing and get my rocks off as much as they do. If anything inhibited that, oh my God, why would I want to damage that?
You just cut off at the very end then. I'm not sure if it's my signal. So did I miss a line at the end?
Oh,
sorry.
I just said I don't want anything to damage the amount of love I have for playing, and I want to remember that night and play fantastic so that the audience has the greatest night in the world. I don't want anything inhibiting that and stopping me from performing the best.
No, totally. I totally agree. They're more important. They're the ones who have paid the money to come and see you, so you need to give your best performance. And
that's right.
You don't want to selfishly. Like I've been around musicians who do like a beer before they go on. Some of them can still perform really well, and I think that's the problem when they discover well, I can have 6 pints and still go on stage and play as well as I could anyway. I think that's the problem, and that's what leads to
that's the danger.
That's the danger
because they can't. They can't.
Yeah. And but apart from years when I was a teenager, maybe having a few beers before going on and then realizing I'm playing everything too fast, then I'm realizing, oh well, I'm not going to do that again.
Go.
Yeah, exactly. I got to focus on.
Well done.
Yeah, and it's just a discipline really, and I think it's something you need to learn yourself. And it depends especially if you get into the stage where you are doing a semi professionally. There is an element of someone paying to see you. It's different when you're just kind of starting out in a band with your mates and your kids or whatever, and you're just playing in a garage or whatever. Yeah, do whatever you like. But people are paying to see you.
Well, it's also that, the whole night, the whole night is fun. It's like you go around for a barbecue with your mates. You're not going to go around for a barbecue and not have a beer. It's almost telling you to have a beer. Well, when you're going to play great music and a great feeling, it's almost telling you to have a drink.
Yeah.
It's telling you to do drugs because they all go hand in hand. But you hit the nail right on the head there a minute ago. It's about discipline. And if you're not prepared to be disciplined so that you know when to stop, when to have a bit of a party, and especially when it's your job, you have an obligation to keep on top of your job. You've got to have that discipline to cover all those areas.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you agree. So I doubt there are very few of my listeners that don't know of the music, but for anyone who hasn't heard Uriah Heep yet, I know you've been together since this 70s, right?
1970 they started. I joined April the 17th, 2007.
2007, yeah, I thought so. But are there any particular songs or album that you would suggest they could start their journey if they wanted to check the band out, if they haven't heard you yet?
Well, I mean, a lot of the diehard fans obviously say the early ones. You've got Demons and Wizards, Very Heavy, Very Humble, Look at Yourself. Then in the 80s, for a bit more of the cliche 80s, that charted in the album charted in the top 20 in America in the 80s was Abominable, which is a very prominent one with a lot of rock fans.
Cool.
And then the album I played on when I first joined the band, Wake the Sleeper, is a very good album.
Oh, nice.
And then Living the Dream, my last album, was a very good album.
So everyone should go and check those out, and then let us know which ones you liked and what you didn't like. I'm assuming they vary quite a lot, because the stuff I've been listening to since we arranged this interview, there's a lot of variation to it in the kind of style I find. There's
one thing Heap's really been good at. Yeah, Heap's been good at being a more varied rock band and not so channeled with stuff. They can do the ballads and get away with it. They can do the proggy stuff and get away with it. They can do the dreamy, stuff and get away with it. And then they can do the hard rockers and get away with it. So they're a bit lucky like that.
Oh, that's cool. So you've probably mentioned a few of them already, but what have been the proudest moments of your career so far? You may have mentioned some earlier.
I suppose, joining Alan Price and then Chris Barber, because those two people clawed out of me stuff that I perhaps wouldn't have clawed out that early if I hadn't joined those bands. Plus, my teacher giving me all the right ingredients and teasing me and drawing me out, making me answer the questions all the time and not having to conform to the right things and not having to conform to what the teacher says all the time. He wanted to hear my point of view on stuff and teach me a lesson about, as I said, the feel and groove thing, which, not a lot of teachers do that. They'll teach drumming, they'll teach the grades and this, that, and the other, and nothing goes with it. Not the correct. If you haven't got a correct technique, you won't progress as much as you should progress, because technique, if it's bad, will inhibit you. And if you don't understand feel or groove, then very rarely you're going to get booked properly. That's really the essence of what everything's all about. And so they were three massive highlights. Plus, also obviously my own self-achievement is, the auditions I've gone for, I went for Pete Barden was a keyboard player in a prog band called Camel. Right, he's dead now. And I went up to get my Sabian endorsement, because I signed to Sabian after doing You're the Voice with John Farnham at the Montreux Rock Festival. Sabian came legging it up to me and said, "Have you got a cymbal endorsement?" I said, "No, this was before vinyl." I said, "No, I haven't." Like, come with me. So I got a Sabian endorsement just through doing that gig. Wow. And I had to go up to London and get it. And there was an audition going on. I can't remember the name of the studios now, but there was an audition going on understairs. I said, "What's going on?" Loads of drummers downstairs. Oh, they're auditioning for this Pete Bardens, who was in the Camel. He's got a new album recording. He's going to go on tour. I said, "Oh, I'm going to go and get that." Oh, I don't think you'll be able to go for the audition. It's all set. Now, there's a I don't know whether they're still going, but there's a Session Connection, which is an agency that all musicians joined, and they'd try and get you, tours and sessions and everything all up there. Well, they had organised it, so I went down there, and a guy came out from finishing the audition. I just walked in there. I said, "What's all this about?" I said, "What do you think? Are you on the list?" I said, "I'm not on the list, but I'm the drummer. I want to do this. I'm the drummer you need." And of course, the guitarist, who was the MD, said, "Hang on a minute, mate. Hang on a minute." Tried to chuck me out. And Pete Barden liked my attitude. Said, "Hang on a minute. What are you here?" I said, "I've come to get me Sabian cymbals and everything." I said, "You told me there's an audition going down there." I said, "I'm the drummer you need." I said, "Well, hang on a minute." And they said, the auditions are going through. We've got 20 people, basically, blah, 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 blah. It's finishing at 4 o'clock, whatever it is. Can you hang on? Can you hang around and do one after? I said, yeah, all right. He said, if you have a listen outside, you'll hear the couple of tracks that we're doing. So anyway, I did that. Of course, I went in there and I got it. I got the audition. I played on the album. It's called See One Night. And unfortunately, we couldn't do the tour because poor Pete Barden died. Now, he used to spend a lot of time with Mick Fleetwood out at Fleetwood Mac. We were very, very good mates, and we were due to go on tour with all that lot. Oh, wow. But he died, so it never happened. And so coming back to the biggest highlight is the fact that I've always made sure that if you're really confident in your own ability and what you've got to offer, that will stand out so much. It's no good going in apprehensive. It's no good being timid. It's no good trying stuff where the water level's up here and you're, waiting for the mistake. You've got to play so within yourself and so positively. It feeds so much in the people. And being a nice guy, for goodness sake, you don't want to go on tour with an idiot.
Yes.
And it's another thing I said with the kids at Brighton. I said, look, there's an audition next week, like hypothetically, there's an audition next week. I said, and you 20 and me are all going to go for the audition. Who's going to get it? And they all started laughing. They said, well, of course you're going to get it. I said, no, hang on a minute. What, just don't play your paradiddles fast in you? I said, you've got to understand, the moment you walk in that door, they've made their mind up if your image is going to work or not. Yeah, I said, then it's the playing ability. Then did he speed up, slow down? Was he too loud? Was he listening? Was he watching? Did he have good feel? You know what I mean? Is he a timid person? Is he too aggressive? Is he too full of it? Let's have a little chat with him for 15, 20 minutes, see what's hobbies he's got, and is he into this or is he into that? Are we going to like being on tour with it? All those elements go into it.
Definitely, yeah, totally. It's not just
that's what I said. I had a chat with Kenny Aronoff, right? Who's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Because I said to him, look, you're the number one rock guy in LA. You get the call first over everybody, and you have done for like 20 odd years, right? And I said to him, how does that work? And he started laughing at me. He said, look, there are literally loads and loads and loads of guys that can play me under the table. He said, but you got to remember this, Russ. It's about giving them what they want, first or second take. Having a great, consistent drum sound. He said, but do you know the number one reason why I get the call? He said, I create the best vibe for everybody in that studio. He said, and that's why they get me back, because that's really what top producers want, is the best atmosphere so that you make the best record, and then everybody gets the good old thumbs up and the tick and gets paid and you get back to do it again.
Yeah, totally. No, that's completely true. It's not all about, like you said, doing paradiddles faster than the next guy. It's nothing about that. But
see, I've heard loads of people, and that's, again, from Brighton and the young kids and this and the other, turn around and say, well, I'll play better than him. I'll play better than him. What's he got a gig for? What's he got a gig? And they're missing the boat.
Yeah.
You're going to try and get the gigs to go. You could try and get your mates with you to go on tour. You're not trying to get the best players. You know, the guys that do the tours with the pop bands and that, they're mates. The MD's mate with the bass player, who's mate with the drummer, who's mate with the keyboard player. They all go on tour. They're all good players that can play it well. He can play better than him, but he's a twat. I don't want him on tour with me.
Exactly, yeah. I've had a similar story with a mate of mine he's a drum tech, and he started off, I think teching for bands he knew, and then he kind of just made loads of contacts, and he started teching for some really big bands. He's not a particularly good drummer. He's not particularly brilliant at anything technical, but they just like being around him, and that's why he gets to work, because he's a cool guy to have on the bus.
Yeah,
they like hanging around with him, and he gets all the work because of that. And there's loads of drum techs that know more about drums and tuning and whatever goes into drum teching. But he gets the job because he's alive.
I've gone through a few. I tell you, drum techs. Yeah, for all different reasons. They're either too moody, they either crap at their job, or a combination of both. I need someone, because I don't like my drum tech. I keep saying to Rich, my drum tech, you're not just my drum tech, mate, you're my mate.
Yeah.
But there is a percentage where we have to keep it professional, because it becomes difficult for me to call you a twat if you're too much of a nice mate. I don't want to do that. So I've got to leave a little bit of a gap. But I will treat you just like a mate when we're not, doing the gig or whatever. I'm not going to leave you out. Oh, you're just a drum tech. You ain't coming out to dinner with us. No, I'm not into that. They're all mates. But I go on stage and something's not working, anything like that. I'm going to look at you. I'm going to rip your bloody head off because now you're putting my gig in jeopardy and I didn't do it. That's what you're being paid for.
Yeah.
So that, it's an understanding. But yes, as far as mates are concerned, that's why many bands split up, because they can't stand each other anymore. Exactly. And that's just through time, because the habits of people can irritate you on tour, not in a weekend, but when you're on tour for a couple of months, they can bloody irritate you. And it's very difficult to, put up with people sometimes, but it's part of it.
Yeah, totally. Let's go to what I mentioned about my Patreon page then.
Oh yeah.
I'm very lucky.
Hang on, I'm going to put the light on. Hang on.
Okay, yeah. Do what you need to do. It's all good. So yeah, listeners, I've got a Patreon page. It's patreon.com/drum for the song. And, I've got some really nice guys that we keep in touch, and we have monthly conversations online, and we do loads of cool stuff. But one of the benefits of the top tier is I say, give me some questions to ask my next guest.
Yeah,
so
of course, yeah.
You've actually been given, I've been given more questions for you than anyone else before. So hopefully we'll get through them all. So the first one's from Rudi.
Yeah.
In Germany. He's from Germany. Can you recommend any specific exercises for drummers which are very helpful to improve their drumming?
Well, you've got to stay relaxed when you're moving like this. It's all about, for me, I can be a bit controversial with some of the things I say, but I can only speak for myself and my experiences and how I play and what I've learned over the years. Now, of course, there's more than one way to skin a cat as far as grip's concerned. We won't go into that. But the more loose you are, if you're loose here, you're going to be loose here. As soon as the wrist locks up, the only thing that's going to allow you to move more is the forearm. So you're now going to be adding tension into something. Yeah? Yep. So the more relaxed you are, the more loose you are, the more relaxed you are, the better your playing is going to be. Now, I always make sure I do half an hour at least of warming up on the pad, on my little practice kit, just doing a bunch of rudimental type things, singles and doubles mostly, with paradiddles thrown in and everything. Because if you don't warm up and you're certainly playing rock, you're playing powerful and fast, if this starts locking up, you're in big trouble. Plus, you're also prone to injuries. Exactly. Now, I've never had any injuries at all, touch wood. And I know loads of players that struggle with, carpal tunnel things and my arm here. You've got to look at your setup's got to be right. But mostly, you've got to warm up like you're doing a sprint. So I do at least half hour there. I do stretches. I do my neck. I do everything to make sure I'm limbered and ready to go, because I can't stress how important it is. You might get away with it for 5 years, but then it might catch up with you. And if something starts to hurt where you can't perform anymore, how gutted are you going to feel? Totally. So the exercises I would do is, as I said, half an hour at least on the pad. The same with the feet. You've got to get the feet going like that. You've got to get the feet, get the blood circulation round, get yourself nice, loose and ready to play. And I would just continue, if you're struggling with a bit of speed, you've always got to try and put the metronome on, and you've now got a gauge of in time and tempo. And even if it's 100 BPM, you're just going and focusing on the evenness of that before you move it up, and just making sure, very methodical about making sure that you're playing as relaxed and loose as possible, not putting a strain on your technique, and listening that your technique is as smooth as it possibly can be.
That's great. Totally. And when it comes to metronome practicing, how, for example, if you're just doing doubles on with your hands or whatever, would you say notch it up by like 5 BPM a time or 10 BPM a time? Like,
no, 2 or 3.
Just
two or three. Because, if you were to put 100 BPM on and then put 102 BPM on, right, maybe a minute later, you'd hardly notice a difference.
Yeah.
Not many people could notice a difference at all.
No.
If you put on 100 and then 120, there's a noticeable difference.
Yes.
And this is the problem people do. Everyone wants to play with the speed. I understand that. It's exciting. But they play fast with bad technique. That's what the problem is.
That's the problem.
And so if you do something at 100 and then you do it at 102, because it's hardly moved up at all. Oh no, you're gone.
All right, I have gone. Why have I gone? Can you hear? You can still hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
That's why I keep talking. I'll try and sort it out my end. Sorry.
Might be your timer. Sometimes Zoom's on a timer and they just take you off. You might have to press a button to extend it if you're the host.
Yeah, I'm using my GoPro.
Yeah. So on 102 BPM, because you've only put it up 2 BPM, it's not going to put a strain on your technique. You can then work on 102 BPM without putting a strain on it. And then after a week or 2 weeks or whatever it is, you put it up to 104 or 105, just 2 or 3 BPM. And then you work on that. But because people can do 102 or 103 BPM after 100, they put it up to 110 and they think, oh yeah, I can do it there. And they start doing 110 with bad technique. And so they never get the good technique actually getting better. What they're doing is they're playing faster with bad technique, which isn't beneficial at all.
No,
have you gone completely?
Yeah, no, I am here. Sorry, I'm trying to film. Yeah. I don't know why it's not working, but I keep talking because most people listen to this on audio anyway. No, that totally makes sense. And to be brutally honest, is one thing that I've never really spent a lot of time doing is practicing the metronomes over and over again. But I've recently been trying to speed my. I know it seems a bit cliche, my double kick. Because I've always felt like I've always played in like rock bands. I've never played in like a metal band. So I've never really needed to be fast on a double kick. But like, I'm interviewing all these guys and watching a load of videos. I'm like, right, even if I don't need to do it now, I'd like to be able to do it someday if someone ever needs me to. So that's what I've been working on. And like what you mentioned about your not being able to do like an ankle technique is interesting because that's what I've been trying to learn. To try and build up the speed. But yeah, because I used to just kind of, I think I kind of developed my own little ankle technique without knowing what it was, just to play for like some of the songs that are like 5 minutes of just solid double kick, but not that fast. It's only so fast you can go. But anyway, no one needs to know about that.
Well, I'll tell you another bit of fun for those people who want to play with metronomes. Don't play with a metronome. Put on a piece of music, right, that you like, that's at a certain tempo. So you might find a rock track or a dance track or whatever it is, a pop track, whatever track it is, and put the click on it just to find out if it's in the ballpark of 100 or 110. Yeah. If it is, put the music on, because as soon as the music's on, you're going to start moving to it with something with a click going like this. How uninspiring is that?
Yeah.
If you've got the music playing or a drum loop or something. It's more exciting and it will get you enjoying playing to a regimented tempo like that.
Yeah.
Make it more fun.
Totally. Yeah. That's definitely what I'd recommend. One more question from Rudi then. What are your musical influences today? Still the classic stuff, or maybe some modern new bands or music?
Well, I listen to everything. Honestly, I love Mozart as much as I like listening to Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Tony Williams, Barry White, Stevie Wonder, and then Sabbath, Iron Maiden. I mean, anything that's really good. Now, this is funny, because as a musician, I can't listen to music like a non-musician does, and no one will ever know how, why, or if that's 100% true, because as a musician, you can't help but understand more of the ingredients that come across in a song. Yeah. I think most people that aren't musicians, even though they might listen to guitar break or the bass line. They really do focus on the lyrics and the melody because it's really the only thing that they can really latch onto. But as a musician, you're listening to all of that. You can hear the counter melody line. You can hear the way the bass went up the second verse. You can hear the way that drum fill when he came after the middle eight, after blah, blah, blah. I mean, all those things. And I like all of those things for different reasons.
Yeah.
So, I'm a musician that just loves music. So anything will excite me if it's good.
No, I feel quite similar to that. And a lot of the artists you mentioned there, they were on my iPod back in the day when I used to listen to an iPod. But,
and the thing is, I've used them all in the Uriah Heep, and this is the special thing.
Awesome.
I was schooled to play everything, right? So I was brought up on jazz, right? In Uriah Heep, I play jazz, right? Okay. Well, how do you play jazz? Well, I'll tell you how I play jazz. If you play a broken 16th note really fast, right? That's at that speed. It's a broken 3/16 notes. Slowed down, it's ding, 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 ding. But the faster you get, something has to compensate, and the space does. Ding, 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 ding. Right. I'm always doing them broken notes on the ride because I don't want to do that time. I want to be free with my right hand, and it sometimes gives that a slightly different feel to playing just eighth notes.
Totally.
And the same as Afro-Cuban. I learned the Afro-Cuban 6/8. Afro-Cuban 6/8. Right. Well, when I first 3 weeks after joining Heap, I was in the studios doing the album, and there was a track on there called Tears of the World. And it's a shuffle. And in the middle, I didn't know what to do. I can't keep it at a shuffle. It needs to go somewhere else. Blah, 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 blah. And of course, I'm new to the band, and I just went, excuse me. Yes. Well, what about an Afro-Cuban 6/8? And they all turned around, including the producer, and went, oh, what? I went, an Afro-Cuban 6/8. Now, the reason why is because big heavy backbeat. The phrasing came of the Afro-Cuban. Trevor followed me on the bass. And so the track went it really made the middle bit just sit down, still gave it a triplet feel, but gave it a real heavy backbeat, but with the syncopation of the Afro-Cuban 6/8. Now, if I had studied that, if I'd just been a rockhead, narrow-minded, that brought that track, that made that track in the middle.
I'll check that out. Yeah.
That's why learning to play the drums, see, I don't believe in styles of music.
Cool.
And the reason why I don't is because now you're putting jazz in jazz, rock in rock, Afro-Cuban is Afro-Cuban, Latin in Latin, reggae in reggae. No, it's not. You're playing rhythms, and how you play them in whatever musical project you'll do, they come out. Yeah. So you can play a reggae type beat in jazz if you wanted to. Would it then become a reggae beat? Well, we'd have essence of reggae beat in jazz. So what is it? Well, you're just playing a rhythm, and that particular rhythmical phrases works at that point in the song.
Yeah. So yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And that's why I used to say at Brighton again, I used to say to them, look, I know you're a jazz head, I know you're a Slipknot head, but you two get together, because if you learn that and you learn that, you've now got more ingredients in your own playing.
Totally. That really makes sense, man.
Yeah.
That's really funny, because that Afro-Cuban 6/8, I've actually played that in a band. I don't think I kind of came up with the idea, but I didn't know that's what it was called or what it was. But
just felt right.
I definitely played that pattern. It sounded cool. Well, yeah, I think they kind of based the song around that rhythm. Bum, bum.
Oh, right.
Bum.
Yeah.
But I'd never known what it was called, or it had a name.
There you go.
So there you go.
Yeah. And that's another thing, Dave. That's another thing. I'm a big believer in, I don't believe you always have to understand something.
Yeah.
Right now, a lot of drum teachers put me down for this. And I keep on saying to them, hang on a minute, there's a time to learn, there's a time to play. Now, I've always said to people, you get your 25 books and you can study that. But you've always got to have that couple of months now and again where you look at them books you shut the cupboard, and you just get your backside in there and play. You've got to be free to express yourself with what you've learned at the time. Otherwise, you don't end up growing as an individual.
No, totally. You'll just be another copy of your drum teacher.
Yeah, well,
whoever,
listen,
you know.
Adam Price doesn't read music at all. And when I've asked him about his playing, he said, I don't know. He said, I'll just feed it and play it. Mick Box doesn't read music at all, right? And I said to him, I'm going to do this bit in 7/4. Is that okay with you? He said, I don't care what it's called. He said, I'll feed it and I'll play it. Yeah. So sometimes, and these are successful people. So sometimes it's not always about understanding correctly or writing it down correctly, because if you can feel it and you can play it, the best thing is the result, and the result is what you sound like.
Yeah. No,
you're not going to get an extra $5 for writing it down, are you?
No, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not much of a reader, and I understand drum notation. I understand music notation. I've got like an A level in music. I went to uni and I did a pop music degree, but I'm still not a sight reader. I've never got to that stage of becoming a reader. And I've always played by feel, especially with drums, because by the time I've looked at the line and tried to work it out, if I've heard the piece of music, it'll go into my ear and into my brain before I can transpose what's in front of me on the paper into my brain. I hear it first and just know, I can do that, which is, it's frustrating because I want to be able to do the sight reading stuff and be able to write.
But Buddy Rich did that.
Is it? Right,
Buddy Rich does what you do.
Yeah.
A lot of people have got photographic memories. They've got photographic memory. They can hear it, then they can play it. They don't necessarily can see it and then play it.
I'll hear it before I can work it out and see it. And it's always slowed me down, because I guess one way to get around it would be to not show me the piece of music first, and just to show me the written music and then work it out that way. But I'd spend hours doing that, but maybe I'd get it. But that's probably the best.
I did the same. I did. Have you heard of a German rock opera band called Avantasia?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Well, I did their Mystery of Time album. So Eric Singer played the album before, which I can't remember the title now. Eric Singer played the album before, and I did the album after. Wow. They basically asked me, because I did a festival which the singer was on, and he absolutely adored my playing, and he said, I want you to do the next album. So I did the next album. Well, this was all programmed drums, and he wanted it exactly like that, apart from the drum fills. Well, what a roasting that was, because they were like 150 BPM. I can't do that because of my poor little ankles, right? Anyway, I had to go into the studio for a week, and I had to really work hard to build up my speed on that. But because it was all programmed drums, and I had to write it all out. I had to write out the 12 tracks. Now, if someone was to see that notation, in the old days, it would have been perfect, because I was used to it. I was doing it all the time. I was being taught, blah, 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 blah. But because I hadn't had to read for donkey's years, you do lose it a little bit.
Yeah.
I had to write out the charts, but I knew what to play because I understood what I wrote out. It wasn't technically correct, but it doesn't matter, because what came out was what he wanted.
Yeah,
exactly. So there's another form of cheating the system, is to write out something that you understand, so that it can translate onto the drums.
Cool. That's cool. I like your way around that. That's great. Right. Next one from Gareth Richards. He's another Welshman. Do you feel any pressure, or did you feel any pressure in filling the shoes of such a drumming legend as Lee Kerslake?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Not at all.
And even though perhaps I should have done. Yeah, no, not at all. I really mean that. And the reason why is because I think you've got to reach a level of experience. It's not a level of, oh, yeah, I'm great. No, not like that. Nothing like that. But you've got to have an air of confidence and experience to be able to fill the shoes of someone like that. And you've got to have a certain persona about you and a certain way of playing that you know will win the day. Now, Mick's not an idiot, right? The band's not an idiot. They're highly accomplished, successful musicians in a legendary band. They're not going to have some mediocre drummer, but why would they?
Yeah.
So I knew that I had something to offer. My next test, I knew the band and everyone loved what I did. So that added to my confidence. the final one was the fans. Now, the fans won't cheat. The fans are going to tell you exactly what they think. And the fans loved me.
Brilliant.
Now, what more could I say? So that made me relax even more, gave me more confidence to realise, okay, this is my time as a person in a legendary band. So I wasn't really concerned at all about filling the shoes. I just felt, thank God, my time has arrived, but I've got to make sure I don't miss the boat. I've got to nail it. That's all I had to think about.
Super.
But it's still an honour to fill his shoes because he is a fantastic drummer.
No, totally. That's a good answer. And do you have a particular favourite Uriah Heep song to play live?
Oh, God, no, it just comes up a lot. The reason why is they've got so many fantastic songs with different feels and different emotions that I get into all of them. You know, I like, you know, the stomp of Gypsy is just great. Just it's just that right 80 odd beat PM tempo where you just bang, gang, gang, da, da, and just, and then you've got to look at yourself, which is it's got that thing about it, you know, and then the two-handed shuffle to really, I mean, I sing, they're not on this record, Easy Living, but I sing horn parts. And the reason why I do it helps me swing. So Easy Living, down, 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 and I'm going, in my head, I'm going, bang, do that, bang, gang, gang, do that, do because it needs to have that fantastic magic swing. You can't just play the shuffle without swinging because it won't swing.
It won't swing, yeah.
So apart from your technique, these are all tricks that top professionals use, tricks to gain. Yeah, if it's a dirty song, I think about fucking the missus. You know what I mean? These are emotions that you put into elements of a song that help just magnify a little bit of that groove or whatever. If it's an aggressive song, I want to smash the fucking shit out of the audience. Yeah. You know, it just gives you that emotion because emotion is in everything in music and people. So we should express that through our grooves. And I just felt it has actually helped me get right into that groove if I put those different emotions in those songs.
Amazing answer.
Might be a bit odd, but
no.
Perhaps I'm an idiot.
That's cool, man. Yeah, more people need to do that. And you've kind of touched on this a little bit, but the last question from my patrons, from Steve Hancock, working with various artists and in particular different styles of music before joining Uriah Heep, how much did this experience help develop your playing style and sound? And did these experiences change your mindset of what you could bring to the table as a drummer for any artist?
Yeah, one by one. You know, one by one, you learn from everybody. Every gig you do, you learn from those musicians, whether the bass player can play or not. You have to tone it down to accommodate for him. If you're playing in front of the beat, you have to accommodate for it. If you've got a pushing guitarist, you've got to accommodate for it. And if you play with someone that's really good and they excite you and they can start to embellish your own playing and make you think differently, you take it on board. So you're taking things on board all the time. And the great thing is that when you're playing with, let's say, successful artists, there's something about why they're successful that I want to bring into me. You know, they're successful for a reason. Now, why are they successful? Is it the songwriting? Is it the way they perform? Is it the way that they play? When I was with Lonnie Donegan for a little while, the way that guy played rhythm, you know, skiffling guitar was unbelievable. I mean, he was a rubbish guitarist, but when he played his skiffle stuff, the energy and the way he played was, you can't teach that. And the same with Alan Price. When he got on the keyboards and started playing, the feel, and with Zoot Money as well, the feel that comes out from those guys from when they grew up in the 60s had that special 60s feel about it. You got to be in amongst it to understand it and start to embellish. When I when I started playing with Alan Price, and when Zoot Money was in the band, I remember Zoot saying to me, Russ, you've got to kind of learn that in-between thing. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, you know, the swagger that we really like, you know, guys that play in between jazz and straight notes. I said, well, you play it for me. I need to understand it. Play it on the keyboards. He played it on the keyboards. I understood it. I started playing it. He said, that's it. He said, now keep doing that every time we do this. He said, that's the feel that makes everybody swing. Great, brilliant. Now, I wouldn't have learned that if I'd have got it from those guys. So now it's implanted as an ingredient here, and I can bring those elements in anything that I want. If someone's scratching their head on an idea, and I've got that idea here through playing with all of these fantastic artists, I can draw it out. That's the beauty of recordings in the session scene, isn't it? When they're struggling for a certain, this middle bit's not working. I don't. Does it need a bit more jungle? I don't know what it needs. And then the drummer comes up and says, "What about these 3 or 4 ideas?" Oh, that's the one.
That's the one.
But if you haven't got that in your ingredients, you're struggling.
Yeah.
So yes is the answer. Yes, everything. Every time we do a gig, right, try and absorb the good and the bad all the time, and use it as added ingredients to yourself.
Yeah. Totally, that's amazing. Amazing answers there. I think I should just get them to ask all the questions from now on. It's only
because I get so bloody passionate about it all, and I'm so excited. I want to give everybody all the magic ingredients, if they are magic, as possible. Because who doesn't like playing music? Don't matter what guitar you got. What an enjoyment thing it is to do. Fantastic.
Totally fantastic. I agree. You've touched on it a little bit, and I've kind of researched it a little bit. But what gear are you using at the moment?
British drum company. Yeah, fantastic drums. I mean, he's so meticulous the way in which they make it, and the sound is just what I like about the drums. You're going to say that because you endorse for him. No, not at all. I'm a professional musician. I can't hit a drum that doesn't sound any good, can I?
Yeah, you could play any brand you wanted, couldn't you?
Yeah, I'd play any brand I want. And let's be fair to all the brands. No one makes rubbish drums anymore. Come on, right? But there's other elements as an endorsee that I have to consider. And that's why I don't ring up 40 companies and ask to have a business meeting. But I'm with British Drum Company. The drums sound great. Can't fault them at all. They basically, if you want your bass drum to be big, fat and boomy, they got it. If you want to be tight and beefy, they got it. The toms sing out, and the snare drums, characteristics in all the different snare drums, well, the differences are unbelievable. Sometimes on some companies, and I will say this, the differences are minuscule. You can't really hear the difference if you shut your ears, right? But with the drum company, when they make the different snare drums, there really is a characteristic difference. And I think that's great in the company, and they're lovely people to work with. So I can't fault them at all. Been with Paiste, hell of a long time. They've been so good to me. I love all the guys at Paiste, and I just feel as though they're the best rock cymbals. Obviously, when I say to people is, look, you can't put down Sabian, Meinl, Paiste, or Pearl or Tom. You can't put any of them down. Every single one of these fantastic companies have got fantastic top players playing for them. That's it. That's where it stops.
Yeah.
But they can't be crap, can they?
Exactly. Exactly, yeah.
So it says British Drum Company, Paiste, Codes Drumheads, which are a new company. Mike Eaton from Embrace is the co-director of the company, and their heads are getting better and better, and they sound great. I don't have any problems on the road with them, and they really do make the drums sound great. So I'm well happy with Code Drumheads. I've got my own animal stick, which is a Pelwood from a Czech company, and the consistency, as I said, is great. My sticks never break. Let's just put it there. Look, wow. I'll tell you why your sticks break, people, right? Because your shoulder's tapered too early and you've got a rubbish acorn at the end. That's it. I've gone into this for years and years and years. I will put my stick up against anyone else's stick and mine will win the day. That's the end of it. Except, because I've got relatively small hands, I haven't got a thick stick. Mine are an inch longer than standard. The shoulder's tapered later. The weight is more towards the front end of the stick. So when I reach power and speed and power is physics. More at the front end. God, I get some whip going on. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's...
what else? ACS in-ears. They're phenomenal. I love me in-ears. Save me ears, of course.
Yeah.
Porter and Davis kick batter because they make the best one.
Nice. I've never tried one.
They're fantastic. Yeah. The dynamic range is beautiful on them. And you can put the whole kit through it. Yeah. So what I hate is all that air drumming and the bass drums go. I don't want all that. I want to feel everything going through that. It's really be dynamic and play well. So the Porter and Davis kick button is fantastic. What's that? I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have I missed anyone? Oh no. Okay, so protection bracket.
Oh yeah. Oh, is that using both?
Protection bracket.
Use both.
Yeah, use both. Well, I need the hard cases for touring, don't I? And then I need to really look after it. And the protection racket is like a little.
They're like
cuddly.
That's right. I recently bought a few more, and they're like. I literally wanted to give one to my cat to sleep in because
exactly. They're fantastic. And again, they're well made, and they do exactly what you need them to do, and that's what you want. And Baski, of course, I use Baski as well because I hit the drums so hard I can't have the bass drums going through to the front audience, so they go on a nice carpet.
Yeah.
And they hold the drums nice and steady. Really good.
Cool. Awesome. Now some good stuff there. Some
I haven't missed anyone, otherwise they'll have a go at me. I haven't missed anybody, have I? Just tell everybody.
Do you use any drum dampening or anything like that? Moon gels or anything like that? Would you
Yes, I use a little bit of moon gel now and again, actually.
Some people
Pardon?
Yeah, some people are really against it. They're like leave the drums sing, but I use a bit.
Well, it's let's put it this way. Live, I use a bit of moon gel on my snare drum only.
Right.
That's all I need, just on the snare drum. In the studio, when we did the last album, we had the fantastic Jay Ruston. He's a knockout of a producer, phenomenal producer in LA. And I was speaking to him about the drums and everything. And he said all the great words. He said, I picked him up from the airport. We're driving up to the chapel up in Lincolnshire to do the album. Fantastic place it is. And I said to him, right, I'm one of these drummers where I want to work with the producer. He said, yeah. I said, right, so you tell me what skins you like or what sort of damage. And he just stopped me. He said, no. He said, I want you just to play the drums while I'm in the room and I'll tell you. Oh, well, that's a great start. I don't like someone telling me their ingredients without even hearing the bloody kit. Yeah. You can't do that. It's stupid. So he heard the kit and everything. Do you know, I never even had dampening. All I had was like blankets around my two bass drums to make tunnels. Oh, yeah. So it was a little bit more secluded.
I know what you mean.
No moon gel anywhere, not even on the snare drum. I said, that snare drum sounds fantastic.
Oh, wow.
But sometimes you've got to remember this, guys. When you sit behind a kit and play it, it's got nothing to do with how it sounds.
Yeah.
It sounds completely different when it projects and sounds completely different going down microphones. Totally. So listen to your sound engineer and also get someone to play it and walk 20 feet away, then listen to it again, and you get a better reflection on your kit.
No, that's a great lesson. And it's difficult to, I guess, if you're tinkering with your kit at home or whatever to try and tune it, it's kind of pointless. In some ways, because when you put it on a stage or in a recording studio, then you can't hear it. It sounds completely different behind, like you said. It sounds completely different behind. Then
you can get it in a ballpark.
Yeah, you get in a ballpark. But
once you get used, again, it's experience. Once you get used to it, I can tune the kit behind the kit, and I know what it's going to sound like out there.
Yeah.
But I've had my tech hit the kit. Even my tech, he's hit the kit. I've gone out because I always go out the front here, hear my drums through the PA. Because the room's different every night and I'm just want to hear my drums. And quite often, the floor tom, there's no good, it's boinging or it's flapping or whatever. And I go up there, I tune it and it's perfect. You say, how the bloody hell do you do that? And it's through experience. Yeah. You don't have to tune opposites at all, right? What you have to do is make sure it's reasonably even. And then it's one lug is so sensitive that it might just need a quarter of a turn and you've eliminated the crap instead of tuning everything and making it worse.
Yeah, totally. And that's just a learning curve and it takes hours and hours and hours and hours and years of time to kind of learn. But cool, man. Coming towards the end now then, I've got a quick fire round that I've introduced.
Yeah.
So 10 quick questions, quick answers. So we'll start there. Hot or cold weather?
Hot.
Day or night time?
Night.
Sweet or savory?
Savoury.
Guitar or bass?
Guitar.
Nylon or wooden tip drumsticks?
Wooden.
Cool. Bonham or Peart?
Bonham.
Yeah. Beatles or Stones?
Beatles.
Dark or milk chocolate?
Milk.
Red or white wine?
Red.
Favorite time signature to play?
7/4.
7/4. Nice.
Or 7/8.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Right. So where can people follow you online? Should they wish to? I noticed you've got 2 Instagram accounts. So which one is the right one?
Either of them, really.
Okay.
But Russell Gilbrook drummer I've got Russell Gilbrook Drummer Facebook, Russell Gilbrook Drummer on Instagram as well.
Right.
But they can do Russell Gilbrook Instagram or Russell Gilbrook Facebook as well, because I have people messaging me all the time on either. So it doesn't bother me. I'm not one of these precious people that don't like my private one. Otherwise, I wouldn't put it up if I wanted it private.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Now, the one I found was Gilbrook_Uriah Heep on Instagram. So is that not an official one? Because that's what I wanted to clarify. Remember. That's what I wanted to clarify, because I was following you anyway, and then I kind of searched you, and another account came up, and it had more posts on it. So I was like, oh, maybe this is the right one. So I thought I'd clarify.
I will do them all.
Well, do them all.
They all come to me.
Yeah, they'll come.
I don't mind.
Wicked.
They all come my way, and I try and answer as many as I can.
Ah, well done. That's really nice of you, and I really appreciate the time you've taken today. So
thanks.
The last question, which I ask everyone, if you could create your own dream band with yourself on drums, right? You can't use any members of Uriah Heep because that's not fair. So who would you have playing the different instruments, dead or alive? If you could form a dream band, completely dream.
Well, at the moment, because I'm going down I could probably pick different bands with different, I say styles, I don't like styles, do I? But you know what I mean. Yeah. Totally. But if we're talking about rock and metal, really, it'd have to be Tony Iommi.
Nice. John
Lord.
Yeah. He's come up a few times.
He's come up a few times, has he?
Yeah.
Yeah, John Lord. I'm a bit stumped on the bass player. Maybe Billy Sheehan.
Cool.
Billy Sheehan. Extra little guitarist, Richie Faulkner.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
My co-drummer, Cozy Powell.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be good. I could feed off him.
That would be amazing.
And Dio singing.
You can't really. Yeah, he's incredible. Or was incredible.
Yeah. Or Miles Kennedy, I quite like. I love Alter Bridge anyway, but Miles Kennedy, you know.
Oh, we my band toured with Slash, featuring Miles Kennedy, and he was amazing every night. Absolutely spot on.
He hits notes every night, doesn't he?
Incredible. Yeah, he looks after himself, which I think helps. Which I think is another, like what we were talking about earlier with the drumming. I think if you're a vocalist, it's even more important.
Even more, definitely.
More. Yeah. So he's incredible. But no, amazing. Really enjoyed that. I think it was incredible.
Thank you.
Stories and just insight about how you've progressed and your aspect of just how you should play drums, or how you play music, not just drums.
Music. That's what it's all about.
It's all about. It's all about the music. So no, that's great. And people are going to love this. So thanks for taking the time on to do this. And I'm sorry I cut out halfway through.
That's the first time I've ever cut asking me.
That's all right. No worries. I'll let you know when it's up. And and it'd be amazing if you wouldn't mind sharing it for me on your channel.
Yeah, of course. No problem.
Great. So
hopefully we'll meet one day somewhere.
I'd love to. Yeah, I was going to say I'd love to. Or if whenever we go back touring, if we ever cross paths at a festival, or I'll come and see you play. I'd love to come and see you.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Yeah, no problems at all.
Great. Yeah, we'll keep in touch. Yeah.
Yeah, nice one, Dane. Thanks ever so much. And bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Cheers, Russell. I really hope you enjoyed that episode with Russell from Uriah Heep. If it was your first episode of the podcast, please go check out the other ones. There's loads of them so far with some great guests. And please consider subscribing to the podcast on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're able to, please leave a comment or leave a review, because that really helps boost the stats. And it means that more people are likely to find the podcast, which would really help me out. If you'd really, really, really want to help me out, you can support me on Patreon, which is patreon.com/drumforthesong, for as little as £3 per month. And then you can get access to a bonus episode every month. You get early access to the episodes as well. And if you join the slightly higher tiers, you can get more again, including a monthly video call with myself, which is always great fun. and discount from motorheadbeer.com. You get 20% discount there, which is great, and get access to a competition every month for a bunch of free Motorhead beer stuff. So how cool is that? I think it's really cool. Thanks to those guys. While we're on the topic of Patreon, I'd like to thank my top tier Groove Master patrons, and I'm going to read them off a list now because the list is getting longer, which is really cool. So a big thanks to Dean S Monahan, Rudi Pauly, Dan Hurst, Gareth Richards, Steve Hancock, Paul W. Grasmehr, Charley Farley, Kenny Kendrick, and Jari Väisänen. I'm sorry if I pronounce your names wrong, but there you go. But yeah, it's always good to chat to those guys on the video calls every month. The other thing you could do is follow me on social media on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow my personal page, Dane_drums, or you can follow me at Drum for the Song. On Facebook, you can search for Dane Campbell Drummer, and you can like my page on there, or you can join the Drum for the Song official Facebook group to keep up to date, and we all have conversations about various topics, and lots of memes on there and stuff like that. But yeah, it's great to keep up to date. You can check out my website as well, which is www.drumforthesong.com, and I've got some merchandise on there and more information about the podcast and the different episodes. So please check that out. So I think we'll call that a day for this episode. So I'll see you next time. And if you're a drummer, don't forget to drum for the song.